Hey everybody, I'm Will.
And I'm Brittany.
And today we are in Chiricahua National Monument. This is one of the most unique national park sites in the entire country. It is a place where a forest emerges out of a sea of desert. It is a place where stone pillars stand like sentinels in a canyon.
It's a place with some of the most mysterious animal and human history just waiting to be found. So we're gonna go find it.
Yes! Chiricahua National Monument is in the southeast corner of Arizona, very tucked away. There was a bill introduced in Congress just as recently as last year to turn Chiricahua into a national park. There's 63 of those throughout the United States. They're talking about making Chiricahua the 64th. There are some people who really want to turn this into a Big P national park because they think Cochise County, the surrounding towns, could really benefit from it. But this area is so remote. These towns are so small. There isn't a huge infrastructure to accommodate tourism. These roads are small. They're narrow. You can't get your, 40-foot RV through these roads. The nearest town where you can get gas is about 40 miles away. A little reminder, gas up in Wilcox if you're coming out here from the west. I also really like the Chiricahua National Monument because it's a monument. It kind of flies under the radar. The only people that come here are people who've really looked into what this place is about and they want to see it. They're not just there to collect a national park passport stamp. They're coming to see Chiricahua. If you come here, it will require a little more preparation on your part because you're going to have to either plan to camp or you're going to have to be willing to stay in a motel 40 miles away. You're not going to be able to just go to a Safeway 5 miles down the street. There's not a huge national park commissary the way there is in Grand Canyon Village. When you come to Chiricahua, you're coming to the land. Chiricahua National Monument and the Chiricahua Mountains in general are unique because this is the only remaining jaguar habitat in the United States. They were almost extinct, but there's about 8 of them that have been sighted in and around these mountains since 1996. Arizona Department of Game and Fish has been very closely monitoring these 8 jaguars. Whenever I tell people that this is a jaguar habitat, they freak out. They're like, why do you hike there? And the reality is these jaguars are super elusive. It's really hard to even find them because they avoid crowded trails. They want nothing to do with people. The only reason we know that there's been 8 total, the spots on jaguar coats are like human fingerprints. Each one is completely unique. Every time they catch footage of one on a trail cam, they really carefully monitor and take a look at like the spot pattern. Game and Fish has been hoping that jaguars might make like a resurgence in Arizona. The ones that have been up here, all 8 of them that have lived here since 1996 are all males. They haven't spotted any females, so there's no chance of breeding. The last time a female jaguar was seen in Arizona was 1949. Everything about Chiricahua is weird. Stone pillars are weird. The fact that there's a forest in the middle of this desert of nothing is weird. The fact that jaguars live here is weird. This place is just so mysterious. Altitude is something you have to keep in mind when you're hiking. Brittany and I live at about 1,300 feet elevation. Here at Chiricahua, we're at roughly just under 7,000 feet elevation. Going uphill, altitude, the air is literally thinner. You're drawing more breath with the energy that you're demanding from your body. When you're going up hikes in Flagstaff, Arizona, or even in Colorado, where it's like 10 to 14,000 feet, when you're hiking at an altitude that's higher than what you're normally at, if you haven't taken a couple of days to acclimate, make sure that you're giving yourself breath breaks. Make sure that you're staying hydrated and not demanding too much from your body. So one of the things that makes Chiricahua National Monument unique is these pillar rock formations we've been hiking among. Some people also call them hoodoos. Essentially, what this rock is, it's called rhyolite. It is a layer of volcanic bedrock that over the years, as the land has shifted, little joints have emerged in them, essentially small cracks from the top of the layer of bedrock. Over hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions of years, water and air erosion has penetrated those joints, and the thick layers of volcanic bedrock between the joints have become these stone pillars. Some of them, like mushroom rock, have eroded into really unique formations. So if you come around this way, look at this. You see that? That's probably close to the top of the layer of bedrock, and there was a joint underneath it. And now that tiny little stem is holding up an enormous chunk of bedrock underneath.
Yeah, it's like a little neck. It's like holding up a big...
Chiricahua Mountains share their name with a group of people called the Chiricahua Apache. This is traditionally their ancestral homeland. What a lot of people don't know, the Apache aren't just one contiguous tribe. They're a group of a very closely related groups of tribes. So in the same way that in Europe they have Slavic countries, Slovakia, Slovenia, Poland, Croatia, these are all closely related countries that are bound by similar languages, but they're all their own group. The Apache are the same way. There's the Chiricahua Apache, the Tonto Apache, the Mescalero Apache. And even today, a lot of, non-native people don't recognize this. The Chiricahua Apache in the 1850s, 1860s were led by a man named Cochise, who had a pretty good relationship with the U.S. settlers. One day in 1861, a group of Tonto Apache raided a ranch, stole a bunch of head of cattle, and kidnapped a 12-year-old boy named Felix Ward. This did not make the U.S. settlers particularly happy. The local lieutenant commander sent a lieutenant named George Bascom to go get the boy and the head of cattle back. Now, Bascom and his commanding officers were under the impression that because they had made a treaty with Cochise and the Chiricahua Apache, they had just made a treaty with the Apache. Cochise obviously knew nothing about this. The Chiricahua Apache band had nothing to do with the raid. He is emphatically insisting on his innocence, and Bascom is under the impression that Cochise is lying, that he is just trying to cover up his involvement in this. So he attempts to imprison Cochise and his brother and his two nephews who arrived at the meeting with him for protection. Cochise escapes, but his brother and nephews are imprisoned by Bascom, and he eventually executes all three of them. And Cochise, who had previously had a good relationship with the U.S. government, swears vengeance on them. And it is the start of a 25-year war. Wow. One of the last major U.S. native wars, called the Apache Wars. That gave rise to some of the most famous native names in history. Geronimo fought with the Chiricahua Apache. I could go on for days and days about tragic misunderstandings, the raids on civilians on all sides of that conflict, deception and misunderstanding between military leaders on all sides of that conflict, and how it just led to an endless cycle of tragedy and ultimately exploitation and deportation of the Chiricahua Apache from their ancestral homeland. But that's not for today. If you want to know more about that one, let me know. Maybe we'll do a trailing off video about the Apache Wars someday. We are now at Inspiration Point, which is one of the most famous overlooks in Chiricahua National Monument, one of my personal favorites. At Inspiration Point, we have what is called geocache. These little boxes, other sorts of containers. Another good example we've talked about in the past is the mailbox up at the top of Picket Post Mountain, where people will just leave mementos, you know, little things to signify their hike. What is here is an unopened can of Pabst Blue Ribbon, potential summit beer for somebody. Indication that about a week ago, Stephen and Daniela got engaged at Inspiration Point. She said yes. There is a picture of a peacock. This person wants us to have a sparkly day. Got some people from Arkansas who came here, some people from Brooklyn, New York who almost gave up. Good on you for not doing that. Bada bing. West Winds Hiking Club from Calgary, Alberta.
Yeah, this is kind of good for leave no trace, hey.
Geocaching is a really good way to kind of leave your mark in a location while also being able to respect leave no trace principles, because when it's in a box like this that's sealed tight, it's not going to get anywhere. You don't have your trash anywhere. It's just a nice little way to leave a memento or leave a thought or leave a memory while also not leaving a mark. This rock formation is called Cochise Head because they say that it actually kind of resembles Cochise. If you turn your head sideways, you can kind of see brow kind of stops, whereas I would be a pronounced nose and lips down there.
Yeah, it looks like he's laying down.
It looks like, yeah, it looks like he's just laying down. Okay, so we're about to do the Heart of Rocks loop, which is probably the most famous hike in Chiricahua. I have a bit of a bone to pick with this hike. I have tried to do it 3 times and have failed. The first time I came here, I didn't have the fitness to get all the way out here. Another time I came with Brittany and it just wasn't on the agenda. One time I came out here solo and tried to hike this trail by myself. This sign says Heart of Rocks Loop Trail, 1 mile round trip. I had been told that the best way to do this trail is to start counterclockwise. So I turned this way. What I didn't see, that is a totally different trail. And if you look on like an Alltrails trail map, what I'm supposed to do is take this a little forward, and then if you want to do this counterclockwise, you start this way. The lesson here is carry a trail map and also like use your brain, because I didn't use my brain that day. My first time finally getting around to doing the big loop. Starting to see why people say this is the thing to do at Chiricahua National Monument. It takes a little bit of effort to get out here. It's hard, it's strenuous, but I mean, look at this. Look at this. How is this place even real? This is one of the best national parks experiences I've ever had.
It's so cool.
It's incredible. It doesn't feel real.
No.
It's beautiful. the Heart of Rocks loop, make sure that you start counterclockwise. That's the only way you're gonna be able to see all the little cool rock formations. They literally just look like they've been sculpted, and they have been sculpted by time. This is art. This is amazing.
So cool.
Yeah. All right, friends, we are nearing the end of our adventure in Chiricahua National Monument today. Almost said National Park. This place is extraordinary. And when you go through the Heart of Rocks loop especially, you're gonna feel like you're on another planet. This place is remote though. So when you come to Chiricahua National Monument, know where you're gonna camp. If you've got a motel in Wilcox, have a reservation ready. Come with food or settle for fast food.
How long was this hike today?
It'll be about 9 miles by the time we're done with it and about 1,600 feet elevation gain. This isn't like going up Humphreys Peak or Wilson Mountain or anything. The elevation gain isn't what should intimidate you.
It is not a novice hike.
Any mobility concerns, or if 9 miles sounds intimidating, don't attempt this. It's still worth coming here. Sugarloaf Mountain, that's a 2-mile hike in Chiricahua. Still well worth doing if you have mobility issues. If you're even an intermediate hiker, if you've been on a few hikes before, you kind of know your way around a mountain, this is one of the best hikes you can do in Arizona.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Cool.
I think we nailed it.
Thanks,
Good work,
Will.
Brittany. Let's do it. Have a good one.
Like and subscribe.
It is a place with some of the most unique wildlife and national. It is a place with.
It's a place with some of the most unique wildlife and human history to be. No, you're right. It is a place. Buttery, crispy flake.
Buttery, flaky, crispy.
Buttery, crispy flake.
All right, one more time. One more time. It is a place with some of the most. It is the place.
Oh, that's what it is. It's a place with some of the most. Look like you're praying. It's a place with.
I think it's still not working. No, I think it is working now. Why is it all...
My name's Brittany and I look at weird trees. Am I in your way? Oh, I like weird trees.